Today is March 2nd.
Okay. I didn't want to say this is the wrong date. Okay, I'm ready. Okay. Good morning. The March 2nd meeting of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging is now being called to order. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And thank you very much for being with us this morning. It's great to have people here. Yes, it is. Okay. Did you think I forgot? Yes. Okay. We're going to start off by having the roll taken by our staff liaison, Francine Spriegel.
Please say here, President, when I call your name. Commissioner Allen? Here. Commissioner Fotheringham is absent. Commissioner Gitt?
Present.
Commissioner Gorbach?
Here.
Commissioner Hagee? Here. Vice Chair Healy?
Here.
Commissioner Norkin?
Here.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Present.
And Commissioner Shentez?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to start off with public comments, and that is our item 4 on your agenda. A speaker card is available for anyone wishing to address the Council on Aging regarding items on the agenda or on a subject regarding senior services in the city. Speakers are requested to state their name, city of residence for the record. I have only got one card, so one person has presented a card, and pursuant to city standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes. The yellow card will be raised when you have 1 minute remaining, and the red card will be raised when your 3 minutes has concluded. Our one speaker today is Andrea Gallagher. Thanks, Andrea.
And our light system is not working.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Healy. So we have a lot of exciting events coming up at Senior Concerns in the month of March, so I wanted to share those with you for a minute if I could. And for those of you that don't know, Senior Concerns is a nonprofit in the community. We're located on Hodenkamp Road, and we serve everything senior and family caregiver. So let me start out with March 15th, the Ides of March. From 4 to 5:30, we'll be doing a travel training for seniors at Senior Concerns. And this is conducted by Thousand Oaks Transit. It's to introduce seniors to an array of local and regional options, transportation options, to get around town safe and fast and friendly. And this seminar is specifically designed for folks that might not feel comfortable or reluctant to try public transit and the dial-a-ride services because they don't know how to use them. So that's what this is for. And it's free. It's from 4 to 5:30, March 15th. And you can register by calling Senior Concerns at 497-0189. The next event I'm excited about, we are on March 16th, the next day, from 5:30 to 7:30. We are hosting Secrets of a Fashion Stylist, how you can maximize your wardrobe look and to look your best. And actually, we're doing this in conjunction with our thrift store. Senior Concerns has a bargain boutique and thrift store, which is right around the corner at 81 East Hillcrest. So stylist Devlin Gorby will be coming to show us how to look and feel our best for special occasions, how to save money by investing in smart purchases, how to save time and take the guesswork out of shopping, and decrease our stress by simplifying our morning routine when we're getting dressed. I have to say, if I look any good from here up, I've used Devlin's services, and she really is quite amazing. So anyway, that's a fun one, and I would suggest coming in. To tie into that, we actually have a big St. Patrick's Day spring sale at the boutique, March 18th and 19th, and there'll be 50% off winter clothing and 50% off red tag items. So again, that the event itself, the Stylist event, is at Senior Concerns, and the Bargain Boutique's at 81 East Hillcrest. And the last one we have is March 22nd, and that's a seminar on Alzheimer's and Dementia early detection. And oftentimes we're wondering, is this just normal forgetfulness, or is there actually a precursor to something going on? We have Dr. James Sutton, who will be addressing the group. He is Normally, we have a sold-out crowd when he comes. He is amazing. And he'll help to understand the difference between normal aging and recognizing signs of dementia. He'll talk about the current and upcoming diagnostic tests and medications that can be used for this disease. And he'll guide the audience in what caregivers can expect when one is diagnosed with dementia. So again, sold-out crowd, generally speaking. It doesn't cost anything. It's March 22nd from 5:30 to 7. And then lastly, I'll just note that June 5th is our Love Run. That's our 5K, 10K, 1 mile fun run. And this year, I know you'll all want to know, we have a new half marathon. And so that benefits Meals on Wheels right here in Thousand Oaks and Newbury Park. And there's a big expo afterwards, free pancake breakfast for everyone, and we have fundraising running teams. So feel free to go online and donate to one of those running teams, and that will benefit. Each registration actually pays for 6 meals for a needy senior, homebound senior. So pretty amazing. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to talk. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrea. The Love Run is great. It's been a couple of years since I have been able to do it because of things in my family, but I have been training and working out for this. I told Andrea yesterday I've been walking around Kaneho Creek North Park. It's 2 miles around as often as I can, like 3 times a week, so that I'm not going on the half marathon, just the half of the 10K I'm going to try for. So, but I'm excited about that. So, okay. Yes.
So your staff liaison has a team called The Young and the Rest of Us. If you'd like to join it, that would be great. Just check on the team list name. Thanks.
Are you guys really fast? Oh, okay. I know, I got it. Thank you. Guys, it's a great thing if you get there. I mean, we have people of all ages, so it's a really good way to get yourself in shape and to do something good for this community, which is so important. So anyway, thank you, Andrea. We are now going to go to our liaison reports. We have liaisons to a lot of our local organizations. Ventura County Area Agency on Aging. Nick Fotheringham and I are the liaisons to that. This is an organization, I couldn't even begin to tell you all the different things that they do and programs. If you need assistance on a county level, if you would like to find out more about programs that are offered, it's Ventura County Area Agency on Aging. You can Google it. You can look it up in the phone book, call the phone book. They have a lot of programs. They have people who, if you call and don't know exactly what you might be entitled to, could talk to you about it. But please, or let me know after this thing, and I can give you that information. Our next liaison report is from the Kaneho Senior Volunteer Program, a great program that sets up volunteers with volunteer jobs in the community. It does a huge job. Commissioner O'Connor is our liaison on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Healy. Well, I'm reading the report from the director of the Kaneho Senior Volunteer Program, Rick Tanaka. They always have such wonderful different things available to the community for seniors. And one thing, the 2016 Wellness Fest at the Global Center that took place on Wednesday, January 20th, 2016, was a tremendous success. I'm sure some of you were there and realize what a wonderful event it is. There were approximately 650 people that went through the event throughout the day. There were over 70 vendor spaces offering services, fun activities, and valuable information. The Kaneho Valley Resource Directory was developed in conjunction with the event and is available to pick up at the Kaneho Senior Volunteer Program office or online at crpd.org/SCVP. We are looking forward to an even better event next year. Another thing that's happening, and here there's some flyers if you're here, flyers on the back table. It's a free tax service is currently being offered by the CSVP. The service is taking place from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays through Thursdays at the Kaneho Creek South Community Room. And there's also a map there, and if you're not here presently, you could pick it up at the Global Center. Wednesdays at the Newbury Park Library. You can see the flyer for details, and as I said, it's available at the Global Center or at crpt.org/CSVP. 2016 Theater Fest for some fun. Mark your calendars. Kaneho Players Theater will be doing a special performance, Amadeus, for CSVP on May 14th, 2016. A limited supply of $20 will go on sale beginning April 4th, with a portion of the proceeds going back to support CSVP operations. Ticket includes access to the pre-performance backstage wine reception and an entry in the post-performance raffle. Sounds like a great time. For more information on these programs or to find out how you can start volunteering, please contact the CSV office by visiting the Global Center in person or by calling 805-381-2742. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Donna. Our next liaison report will be from, I don't know, Patty, are you going to do our report for the Global Community Center today? I guess. Okay. Will be Patty Ham, who does an excellent job of running the Global Community Center, Global Adult Community Center. Got it right. Someplace I hang around all the time, but don't know what the name is. So anyway, Patty Ham will tell us what they're offering right now.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, and good day. TOTV, we have a slide right now about the event I'm going to speak of. The commission, the Global Senior Center Commission, it's not in March, but we're advertising it now for, it's in April, but tickets are on sale now. The Global Senior Center Commission will proudly present History Comes Alive, Queen Elizabeth. It will be on Sunday, April 17th from 2 to 3:15. Come join Val Raines of Camarillo as she steps back in time to portray Queen Elizabeth of England, Queen Elizabeth I, of England, 1533 to 1603, daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. Miss Raines will share stories of the Queen's life and her 44-year reign over England and Ireland, called the Golden Age. She will explore this fascinating and important era in history, including the birth of Shakespeare and the defeat of the impenetrable Spanish Armada. Dressed in full Elizabethan costume, Miss Raines brings the Queen in all her glory to life for you. And the tickets are on sale now at Global Center for $5, and you can pick them up at the front desk. Doors will open at 1:30, and I am told that Miss Raines actually has to have someone help her, get dressed and help her walk because her garb is so heavy that she needs help walking out to wherever she's going to go, so it'll be quite a sight. And then at the Global Center this month in March, we're going to have an awesome St. Patrick's Day party. There's only 10 spots left, so hurry and get over there and buy your ticket. It's going to be on Thursday, March 17th. The tickets are $7. Of course, we'll have the usual corned beef and cabbage, soda bread, and potato dinner. We will have a fun live band and green beer and a photo booth, and we're going to have one of our very own seniors, 96-year-old, sing some St. Patrick's Day songs for you. It's going to be a good time, so I invite you all. On March 18th, we will be having nutrition counseling. A dietitian from VC AAA. Nancy, you're familiar with that? Ventura County Agency on Aging. They will come, Teresa Negro will come, and she will answer questions to anybody who wants to talk about food and the important role that nutrition plays in our overall health. And those appointments can be made at the front desk. And on March 25th, Friday from 1 to 2:30, Assemblywoman Jackie Irwin will come to the center along with Detective Tim Lohman from TOPD and Amy Garcia, an investigator from Moore Park PD, and they will present a workshop on how to protect yourself and your property from scams and identity theft. Assemblywoman Irwin, chair of the Select Committee on Cybersecurity, will give a legislative update on these issues. Space is limited, so sign up at the Global Center. You can either call the center or stop by the front desk. And that is it for March.
Thank you, Patty. I cannot encourage people here or in our TV audience too much to either pick up a global newsletter, or they have them available there. It's available online, or call the Global Center, the Global Adult Center. The programs they offer all the time. I mean, it's constantly filled. I have been there for meetings early in the morning. I've been there for meetings, one that lasted till about 8 o'clock last week, one evening. It is constantly filled. There's bingo, mahjong, pool, organized groups, literature, book groups. I mean, it is a wonderful place for the seniors in this community. Everyone in the county is envious of this. So if you're not taking advantage and going, you really are missing something that would make your life fun. I take my painting class there. I go over all the time. So it's a great, great place for seniors in this community. So thank you. We're now going to get Commissioner Gitt to tell us about the progress of our Senior of the Year event, which is coming up.
28 days left to nominate your Senior of the Year, someone who helps make our community a terrific place to live. The annual award recognizes individuals over age 60 for their volunteer work in the Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park, Ventura County portion of Westlake Village, and the unincorporated areas within the city. We go to the next slide, Francine. So the nomination deadline is April 1st, 28 days. Obtain nomination forms at www.toaks.org/seniors or call 805-381-7362 or email councilonaging@toaks.org. And remember to mark your calendars, because the Senior of the Year dinner will be held on June 2nd, 2016 at the Global Center. 28 days. Let's get those nominations in. Thank you.
How long is that, Commissioner Gitt?
I think it's 28 days. Say it with me. 28 days.
Okay. Our next Commissioner report is on fraud. Commissioner Shentes?
Thanks, Nancy. There are frauds and scams going around all year long, but there are twice a year they seem to peak, and this is one of those times. It's tax season.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on. I think. Got a green light. Tax season, for some reason, maybe because we're all concerned about our taxes and IRS, it's something we all have to do. So the scammers are after us. There are two things you really should kind of concern yourself with. And one is, there are three things you have to put on your tax return. One is your name. The other is your Social Security number and your date of birth. And you know your name. Everybody knows your name. There's nothing much you can do about that. The Social Security number, I hope you are guarding very, very carefully so that no one, and you don't just give it out. But one thing we're careless about is our date of birth. Who cares when you were born? Well, sometimes a scammer knows two of those three things. He obviously knows your name. He may have gotten your Social Security number from somewhere, but he doesn't have your date of birth. And somebody calls you or sends you an email, somehow asks you for that information, you might give it out. What difference does it make? Well, it does if that's the one item they're missing to steal your identity. So that one thing you want to do is make sure you don't respond to any emails or telephone calls that you did not initiate. And the other scam that goes around, of course, is that people will file a tax return in your name, asking for a refund, which you or may not be entitled to, but they will get it. And you won't find out about it until you go to file your tax return, and the IRS comes back and says, sorry, that Social Security number was used before. The first one to get their return in with their Social Security number on, that's the one they accept. And all the others after that, they reject. So one advice is, if at all possible, file early. The other scam is when people have been getting calls supposedly from someone from the IRS threatening you with arrest because you owe them money and you have not paid. Well, you should know the IRS never calls you on the phone or sends you an email. If you owe them money, they will send you a very nice, polite letter explaining quite clearly why it is they think you owe money, and they will give you you don't have to run down right away and pay them. They'll give you a chance to explain what the problem is and to give your side of the situation. And one of the things you should concern yourself with, one of the ones that red flags that go up, they will usually ask you to pay this money with a prepaid gift card or with a wire transfer. And why? That's because those things cannot be traced, nor can they be reversed once you send them out. The IRS is very kind. They will accept payment any way you'd like to make it. Check, money order, credit card. So if you can ignore those calls. They're not going to come to arrest you. They'll give you every chance in the world to explain why you owe them money. You probably don't.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hagee, did you have anything today on outreach? I don't have it on the agenda, but I'd like to. Good. Commissioner comments, and we'll start that, and you can be the first one.
Okay, Commissioner comments. We're doing a wonderful outreach program this year for our Council on Aging, trying to get the word out, what we are, who we are, why we're here. And the City Council, in one of its smart moves, created the Council on Aging. And we have 9 commissioners. All of us have been appointed by the City Council to be the eyes and ears of the seniors. Now, you can get input to us by coming to these meetings, filling out a speaker's card, which we have plenty of these, and you can give us some input as to what you feel as a senior in this city of Thousand Oaks that you would like to have implemented. And as today, the first Wednesday of the month, we have wonderful speakers. Dr. Jenny Hughes is here from UCLA to tell us all about the problems of skin cancer. And next meeting on April 6th, we have Paul Knorr, who's going to be talking about smart money management. And I know that all seniors need some help along those lines. So if you want answers, you can call us at 805-381-7362. If you want answers fast, you go to www.toaks.org/seniors. And if you already have answers, then you can come here and give them to us, or you can go to the Council on Aging at toaks.org. If you'd like a speaker to come to your group, if you have a group of people, and I see someone shaking their head, please talk to me after the meeting, or you can call that same number, 381-7362, and arrange for a speaker to come out to your group and tell you a little more about the Council on Aging. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay. Bron, was that 381-7362?
No, it was 805-381-7362.
Okay, good.
And a friendly operator will answer you.
Yes. Ron does I did it with him once. We did a presentation at a local church. So if you belong to a church that would like to know it, and it's not going to take up their whole meeting, we did it very briefly. And you can learn a lot. You can ask questions. So it's a good thing to get in touch and let him set something up for you. Commissioner Gorbach, did you have a report?
Yes. Thank you very much. I'd like to report that on Saturday, April 9th, the Thousand Oaks Library, in partnership with the Ventura County Writers Club, is presenting a free writers conference. Free! Okay, and that is again Saturday, April 9th. 2016, and we have the most amazing speakers coming, and I know there are writers out there, and you don't have to be published. I know you're sitting out there in TV land, and you've thought, gee, maybe someday I'm going to write a memoir, I'm going to write a novel, I have this mystery that's been doodling around in my brain. You have to come to this conference. Let me tell you who's going to be speaking. Our first speaker is Lisa Crone, who is the author of a book titled Wired for Story, The Writer's Guide to Using Brain Science to Hook Readers from the Very First Sentence. And I've heard her speak about this concept, and it is fascinating. You don't want to miss her. She's here in town for the first time ever, and it's free, and you don't want to miss that. And our second speaker is the fabulous Colleen Cason. And you know her from her regular Sunday column in the Ventura County Star, and I read that religiously. She is the most amazing writer, and she is going to talk about the importance of how to reveal detail and use quotes and dialogues to enhance your story. Whether you write fiction or nonfiction, we are all storytellers. Again, this is going to be Saturday, April 9th from 8:30 until noon. It includes a lovely free breakfast in the morning, but you need to RSVP because there's limited seating. You need to RSVP at one of the library reference desks at either the Grants Brimhall Library or in Newbury Park. Tell them you want to RSVP for the Writers Conference on April 9th, or you can call 805, of course, 381-7358. 381-7358 for the free half-day Writers Conference on April 9th. Thank you.
Is that free?
You know, this is a free half-day conference. I'm glad you asked, Ron. Thank you very much.
Are there any other commissioner comments? Reports they'd like to do? If not, I will just update everybody on the Kaneho Valley Village. They had their first fundraiser last night at Topper's Pizza. I attended. I love Topper's anyway. Best salad bar ever. And so they had a good turnout. There were a lot of people there. If you would like to get on the mailing list for Kaneho Valley Village, you can see me personally after the meeting. You can call me. My number is 805-231-5147. I can put you in touch with the right people. This is a virtual network the purpose is to help seniors remain in their own homes as long as possible, and maybe never ever have to move out of their own home if they're very fortunate. So it's just it's an assistance program, it's a neighborhood program, it's a community program. It gives people a sense of belonging, takes away a sense of isolation. So if you're interested in just being on the mailing list, please let me know after this. Call me. I will be happy to get it. There's no obligation whatsoever. And it is coming along. It's incorporated now. The nonprofit status is we're sending in, or they're sending in the form that needs to be done by the federal government in order to get our nonprofit status. So please, if you're interested at all, just let me know. Any other comments? Oh, yes, I should have done this with Patty Ham here. The Global Garage Sale, the Global Adult Community Center garage sale is April, what is it, Tony? It's coming up in April, and it's really a good thing to go. It's done over at the Global Center. Everybody, we will be selling things there also. So please, I mean, it's a great thing to go to. What? Village. Oh, okay. Tony, it's good to have a helper here. So Village to Village will be one of the many people selling things at the garage sale. As a fundraiser. Okay, thank you. This is the first time I've done it, so it's good that I have somebody teasing him. Okay, are there any other commissioners who have comments before we turn it over for our program? Okay, I will present it now. This is the time that we have a speaker, which is, today we're really fortunate to have such a good speaker here. As a reminder, we will not have any questions for the speakers during the televised program. It's not a public forum. It is an informational presentation only. If you have questions for the speakers, just please hold them until the end of it, and after we adjourn the meeting, you can ask the questions. I'm going to now turn it over to our very able program director, Commissioner Gorback, who for the first time ever you have a list for the whole year of what we're going to have. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. And I am delighted today to present our keynote speaker, Dr. Jenny Hu. Dr. Hu has a Bachelor of Science degree in Neurobiology, Physiology, and Behavior from UC Davis. Her Masters of Public Health and MD are from a combined program at the UCLA Schools of Medicine and Public Health. In addition to skin cancer surgery and cosmetic procedures, Dr. Hu enjoys teaching, community outreach, and health education. And we are very fortunate and delighted today to welcome Dr. Hu to speak to us on the importance of taking care of our skin as we age. Thank you very much, Dr. Hu.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. I'm really happy to be here, so good afternoon.
Okay, I'm just having trouble hearing. Go ahead. You're good.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So again, my name is Jenny Hu, and I'm an assistant clinical professor in the Division of Dermatology at UCLA. And today I'll be speaking on skin cancer and sun protection, what every senior needs to know. So why is it important to learn about skin cancer and sun protection? In your heads, if you can guess, how many skin cancers are being treated in the United States every year? Is it over 500,000, over 1 million, over 3 million, or over 5 million? The answer is over 5 million. More people are being diagnosed with skin cancer than breast, prostate, lung, and colon cancers combined. It is estimated that about 8,500 Americans are diagnosed with skin cancer every day. What is the rate of death from melanoma in the United States? Is it 1 person every week, 1 person every day, 2 people every day, or 1 person every hour? 1 person every hour. And unfortunately, in people who are aged 70 years older or older, diagnosed with melanoma, even early melanoma, the survival rate is even lower. What percentage of people use sunscreen daily? About 30%, 50%, 70%, or 90%? You're right, about 30%. So skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in the United States, and as mentioned, it's more common than breast, prostate, lung, and colon cancers combined. About 1 in every 5 Americans will develop some form of skin cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, the rate of melanoma in the past decades have significantly increased, and current statistics show that about 1 in 53 Americans will develop melanoma in their lifetime. And as mentioned before, about 1 American dies of melanoma every hour. When looking at melanoma statistics, particularly in Ventura County, the rate of melanoma is significantly higher in Ventura County as compared to California as a whole. And this is true for both populations of male and females in Ventura County. The most common types of skin cancer are basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and melanoma. Basal cell carcinoma is the most common type of skin cancer, and it rarely metastasizes, which means that it rarely travels to the rest of the body. Squamous cell carcinoma is the second most common skin cancer in Caucasians, and it also has a low rate of metastasis, although a little higher than basal cell carcinoma. And melanoma is known as the deadliest form of skin cancer. So now that we've learned about skin cancer, what do they look like? So basal cell carcinoma usually is a growth that's sometimes shiny, usually appears on the head and neck area, typically grows slowly. It may bleed or be sore, and it may have a center that does not heal, as you can see in this picture. These are pictures of other basal cell carcinomas, one nearby the eye and on the shoulder as well. Squamous cell carcinoma is usually a growth that typically appears on areas exposed to the sun. It may grow quickly, it may bleed and be sore as well, and it may have a center that looks like a scab. And these are, again, some other pictures of squamous cell carcinomas. For melanoma, we look for features known as the A, B, C, D, Es that make a mole more concerning for melanoma. So A, B, C, D, E, A stands for asymmetry. So if the mole is not symmetric, B stands for border. So if the mole's edges or borders are ragged or irregular. C stands for color. So if the mole has various colors throughout. D is for diameter. So if the mole diameter is larger than the pencil head eraser. Or E is for evolution. So if the mole is changing. These are some other pictures of melanoma, as you can see, and we can get these on our palms and soles as well. Mohs micrographic surgery is a form of surgical treatment for skin cancer. There are various different forms of surgical and non-surgical treatments for skin cancer, but Mohs micrographic surgery is one of them, which I specialize in. It's mainly used for non-melanoma skin cancer, so most commonly for the basal cell carcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma. It has the highest cure rate among all treatments for non-melanoma skin cancers, and the Mohs surgeon is trained as a skin cancer surgeon, pathologist, and reconstructive surgeon. Mohs micrographic surgery is appropriate for skin cancers that are in areas where preserving cosmetic appearance and function are important. So, for example, the face, the ears, hands, feet, and scalp, and the neck. It's also appropriate for skin cancers in which it's recurrent after previous treatment, for skin cancers located in scar tissue, for large skin cancers, or for aggressive skin cancers. So this is a simplified schematic of how Mohs micrographic surgery is performed. So if you look at the first slide on the upper left, what I would first do is I cut out where I see the skin cancer, and then I have a technician who takes that skin and puts colors on that piece of skin for me, and they'll use different colors, such as shown here, red, yellow, blue, and green. And then that technician processes that piece of skin into microscope slides for me. And again, since I'm the pathologist, I look under the microscope, and if I see skin cancer, for example, in between the red and yellow colors, then I go back to that portion of that skin cancer on the face, and I only take from that area. So if you can see from the bottom left picture, I only take from the quadrant from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So I keep doing this process until all the skin cancer is removed, where the happy face comes in. And then right after that, I do the reconstructive surgery the same day, so everything is sutured up. This method of surgery is known as tissue sparing because we only cut out skin where we need to, that is where the skin cancer is at, and we can leave the skin that it doesn't have skin cancer, we can leave that skin untouched. So now that we know about skin cancer, how do we protect ourselves from it? Well, the ultraviolet rays that contribute to skin cancer include both UVA and UVB. But when you look at sunscreens and SPF, which stands for sun protection factor, the SPF actually only indicates protection from only UVB rays, not UVA, which also contributes to skin cancer. Effective December 2012, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration established a standardized test for sunscreens that determine which sunscreens can be labeled as quote-unquote broad spectrum. If it's labeled as broad spectrum, that means it provides protection against both UVB and UVA rays. So if a sunscreen is labeled as both broad spectrum and has an SPF of 15 or higher, then this sunscreen will protect against sunburn and reduce the risk of skin cancer if used with other sun protection measures. So what does the SPF number really mean? It is the theoretical amount of time you can stay in the sun without getting sunburned. So for example, SPF 15 allows you to stay in the sun 15 times longer than you could without protection. So if your skin starts to redden in about 10 minutes without sunscreen, that means wearing SPF 15 allows you to stay in the sun for 150 minutes, theoretically, before you start getting sunburned. However, it's not so straightforward. Sunscreen can be easily washed off with water or sweat. It may not have been applied evenly. It may not be reapplied often enough. And there are also certain medications that can increase your sensitivity to the sun, including certain antibiotics and topical retinoids that you can find in some products and prescription medications as well. So why do dermatologists recommend wearing an SPF 30 or higher? If you look at the diagram in the middle part, an SPF 15 sunscreen protects your skin from about 93% of the UVB rays. And an SPF 30, which is to the very right, SPF 30 protects your skin from about 97% of the UVB rays. Accordingly, SPF 50 protects you from about 99% of the UVB rays. Sunscreens can be also categorized as either physical or chemical sunscreens. So physical sunscreens contain ingredients that actually physically block the UV rays, which is UVB and UVA, off of the skin. And these you probably know well as zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. These are the ones that typically previously would leave a white residue on the skin, but a lot of sunscreens now micronize these ingredients so that it doesn't leave as much white residue on the skin. Chemical sunscreens include ingredients that actually absorb the UV rays and then chemically converts them into heat. And these ingredients do not necessarily block both UVA and UVB. So the ingredient that you want to look for in these chemical sunscreens is mainly avobenzone. These block both UVB and UVA. So of the physical sunscreens, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide block both UVB and UVA, and avobenzone does as well. And sun sunscreens will patent their version of broad spectrum sunscreen and have different names for it, but they will usually contain avobenzone in that patented product that they have. So in terms of our dermatologist recommendations for sunscreen use, we recommend using an SPF 30 or higher, using broad spectrum, so you want to look for that on the label, and using a water-resistant sunscreen is better. You really want to apply a liberal amount of sunscreen with a guideline of 1 ounce, enough to fill a shot glass, to expose parts of the body. And you have to adjust this amount depending on the body size. You want to apply 15 minutes before going outdoors, and you really want to reapply every 2 hours no matter what SPF you're using. So if you are going to be using an SPF 100 plus, you still need to reapply every 2 hours. And you want to make sure you reapply after swimming, drying off, sweating, and even if you're using a water-resistant sunscreen, you still want to reapply after this time. Other sun protection measures include wearing protective clothing. So the clothing that would protect you better from UV rays would be tightly woven, darker colored fabrics. We recommend using hats with wide brims, so not just the baseball cap, sunglasses with UV protection, long sleeves and long pants or long skirts. And you also want to seek shade. And just remember that the sun's rays are strongest between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. There's a lot of clothing out there now that have what is called UPF, or ultraviolet protection factor. And the UPF is really dependent upon what type of fabric they use and how tightly woven the fabric is. And the UPF is basically similar to the SPF of sunscreen, but it indicates how much of the sun's UV radiation is actually absorbed by the fabric. So if you have a clothing that has UPF 50, it means that 1/50th or 2% of the sun's rays actually pass through the fabric onto your skin. So you really want to look for clothing that has a UPF 50 or 50 plus. Some protective clothing does lose effectiveness, and in the cases if it's pulled too tight, if it's stretched out, becomes damp or wet, or washed or worn repeatedly, then it can lose its effectiveness. So when we do go out the sun, our body actually makes something called vitamin D, which everyone is well aware of, which is important in our health. Vitamin D does help with calcium absorption. So together with calcium, it helps protect us from osteoporosis, which is when you have weak and brittle bones. Vitamin D also has roles in our body's immune system, and as well as decreasing inflammation in our body. So from our dermatologist perspective, instead of getting vitamin D from being out in the sun, we really do recommend that you increase vitamin D-rich foods in your diet, as well as talk to your primary care doctor about taking any vitamin D supplements. Some of the vitamin D-rich foods that are available for you to add to your diet include some of these here. So, for example, cod liver oil, which is gives you about 340% daily value of vitamin D, swordfish, salmon, tuna fish, orange juice fortified with vitamin D, milk fortified with vitamin D, as well as yogurt fortified with vitamin D. And this is taken from the National Institutes of Health. So thank you very much. Have fun, but be safe in the sun.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very, very much. Are there any commissioner questions? And then we'll go to the audience after we adjourn the meeting. But do any of the commissioners have questions for Dr. Hume? I do. Oh, okay. You will be our first one.
So is there any relevancy to people with darker skin needing less protection?
So people who have darker skin have more pigment or melanin to protect them from the UV rays, from the harmful UV rays. So in a sense, they are less susceptible to skin cancer, which includes basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and melanoma. However, people with darker skin, if they were to get melanoma, they tend to get acromelanomas, which are on their palms and soles. And studies have shown that when they get these, they tend to be more aggressive and more advanced. So it is still important with people with darker skin still to protect themselves from the sun, but they're just not as susceptible to someone, who has like very fair skin.
So how would you protect the soles and the palms? I mean, you don't normally put sunscreen on your soles and your palms. That's
true. And so, there's wonder whether or not the sun's the UV ray contribution to these melanomas are as important as other melanomas that found on other parts of the body. However, we all know that all the science shows that melanoma is like a big contributing factor is the sun. So if you're going to be out in the park or swimming, it is important to really put sunscreen everywhere. So, including the palms and soles. Although, if we are walking, it is true that most of the times our soles, it's not exposed to the sun as much. Yes.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll just go down the line then. Okay. Mr. Gorbat.
Thank you. May I ask 3 questions? Yes. Okay. Question 1. I always start out with really good intentions with the sunscreen, but it doesn't last long, and I end up putting it in the medicine cabinet, and then months later or a year later, whenever I think, gosh, is it still good? So the question is, does sunscreen have a shelf life?
It does. So if you look at the sunscreen, and it's a lot of times hard to find, you can find an expiration date. A lot of times the expiration date will be opposite from the cap in the part where it's it looks gridded. And so you have to look closely, sometimes with a magnifying glass. But there's usually an expiration date there, and they will have an expiration date. So if you look there and it's past expiration, then you need to toss it out. In general, if you're buying sunscreens from a place where there's a lot of customers, the sunscreens generally will last at least, after a year, based on their expiration date. But you just always want to look at that. Okay, you don't want to buy sunscreen that expires in like 2 months.
Okay,
So,
I didn't know they had an expiration date. Thank you. And then what about sunscreen that is included in some sort of makeup, like a moisturizer?
Right.
Or something that has a fragrance. I mean, I'm trying to, double duty here kind of thing. Is that as effective if you get a sunscreen that's mixed in with other stuff?
It is, but I find that most beauty products that have sunscreen in it, have an SPF of 15 or 20. So it's a little bit lower than what we recommend as dermatologists, having an SPF of 30 or higher. So I usually recommend to my patients to always just use a separate sunscreen anyways, because I find that a lot of the makeup products don't have an SPF of 30 or higher. So if you're using something with that, just layer it. So I would layer sunscreen on first and then use the makeup product.
Okay, thank you. And then my third question is, with regard to what is commonly known as sunspots or age spots or any, I know a lot of us as we get older, have these icky things coming up. Is there any way to address those? Or what do you recommend as a dermatologist?
So first of all, you always want to protect yourself from the sun, because the more sun you get, the more of these spots you can get. So that's the first thing we always recommend. So again, that's using sunscreen, seeking shade, and protecting yourself with clothing. Secondly, if you do get these, there are different products you can use. There are some over-the-counter products with retinol in it that can help with some of the age spots, and this is non-prescription strength. If you go to your dermatologist, you can get prescription strength ingredients such as tretinoin. There's other bleaching creams as well that you can get as a prescription strength that can help with these age spots. And then if you want to think past that, there's also cosmetic procedures you can do regarding chemical peels and lasers. So you can use that too.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thanks, Karen. Are you next? Do you have any questions? Or just then it'll be Loretta.
Okay.
Okay, Loretta.
Well, she stole two of my questions. But the last one is a lot of us that do aqua water exercises use those rash shirts. And could you talk a little bit about the usefulness of them?
Yes. So rash shirts are definitely very useful. So whether you're doing aqua aerobics or, some people go swimming or surfing or other things like that, definitely very helpful. However, still some of the effectiveness of it does get reduced when it gets wet. So it is helpful to use. If you really want to double up your protection, you can always put sunscreen on and then the rash guard on top. And I would recommend a waterproof sunscreen underneath because you'll be in water. But it's definitely more helpful than not having any sun protection at all. So, yes.
I'm sorry, what is a rash shirt?
Rash shirt. So basically people call it rash shirt because sometimes there are these what I mentioned, UPF protected clothing, which protects you from the sun's rays. And they call them sometimes rash shirts because people use them for surfing. And then when they go surfing, it prevents them from getting a rash. But if you just use a regular rash guard or rash shirt without UPF protection, then it's going to offer less protection. But however, again, as I mentioned in the clothing, if you wear clothing that's tightly woven, with a fabric that's tightly woven and of darker colors, then it does offer some protection from the UV rays as well. So just any fabric with that's tightly woven, darker colors will offer you some protection as well, even if it doesn't have the UPF on it. Yeah.
Let me get. Marty had his hand up first. We have so many questions today. So, okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
Are older persons more susceptible to skin cancer than younger persons?
In the sense that a lot of skin cancers are caused by the accumulation of sun damage over time. So, meaning the more that you've kind of lived, the more sun damage you can have had to your skin. So, all that accumulation, in a sense, makes you a little bit more at risk of getting skin cancer. However, if you have had childhood sunburns, even with a younger person, childhood sunburns are associated with increased risk of melanoma. And something that we've been really fighting against a lot as dermatologists is tanning beds, because we've had a lot of young people use tanning beds, and even just using a tanning bed one time significantly increases your risk of developing melanoma, even in a young person. So, both populations are at risk.
Okay, we'll be down that way. Go ahead, Commissioner Hagee.
I believe you said that Ventura County was the highest in the state with cancer.
Yes.
Do you know why?
This is from the state of California cancer statistics. So they didn't actually, they have statistics as to how high or what the percentage of cancers are, but not really reasons as to why they think it is. I wonder if it's just with the level intensity of the UV radiation out here. It's pretty intense out here, so that can definitely contribute to it. If you look at other things, for example, which they haven't looked at in terms of the data from where the cancer statistics came from. But for example, it could be partially influenced by, are there a lot more outdoor activities that people do in Ventura County, which is like tennis, golf, sailing. So all those different things may factor into why the incidence of melanoma is much higher in Ventura County as compared to the rest of California. But we don't know exactly why, but I'm sure it's a multifactorial reason, so.
Commissioner O'Connor?
When we do water aerobics, we're in the pool, but there's kind of a covering. But some of it, the sun gets through. Is it important to have sunscreen on then as well?
I would still recommend having sunscreen because even some of that light that gets through can affect, and again, with skin cancer, it's an accumulation of sun damage over time. So if you're thinking about what are your chances of getting skin cancer for that one time that you did water aerobics without sunscreen, it may be very small risk of increasing your risk of skin cancer. But if that's something that you're doing regularly, again, any accumulation of sun damage over time will contribute to your risk of skin cancer. So I would still recommend using sunscreen. If you're indoors where there's no light, then you may not need to use sunscreen because you're not getting any ultraviolet radiation, from the sun.
One other question. You mentioned that could be metastasis from the first two cancers. Could you just explain what metastasis to?
Yes. So metastasis is basically if a cancer starts off somewhere, for example, skin cancer, and it progresses to travel to other parts of your body through your blood vessels or your lymphatic vessels, so meaning that it just travels to other parts of your body. So it can go to your lymph nodes or to your other organs like your brain, your lungs, your liver. So when a cancer has metastasized, it's not a good thing. It's it's kind of a poor prognosis in terms of your survival. So for basal cell carcinoma, the rate of metastasis is really low. It's less than 0.1%. For squamous cell carcinoma, it's a little bit higher. It's estimated to be between 2 and 6%. However, there are certain areas of the body that if you do get a squamous cell carcinoma is higher risk, which includes the lip and the ear. So if you have squamous cell carcinoma on those two locations, and more recently, there's data suggesting also the scalp, those can be more aggressive. So you definitely want to make sure that you take care of your skin cancer. So one question that I get from patients is that, if basal cell carcinoma is such a low risk of metastasis or, low risk of traveling to other parts of my body, why is it important that I cut it out? And the reason being is because it can be very locally destructive. So it can invade down through your skin to your fat, to your muscle, then to your bones, and I have seen that, unfortunately. So that is why you want to make sure that you get it treated, even though it has a low rate of metastasizing to other parts of your body.
Yes. Commissioner Norkin?
Not a question, but an observation. Ventura County has an awful lot of agricultural workers, and that sort of would back up the statistic that they have a high rate of cancers. I wonder how that would be if you compare this with other agricultural areas. Would it be about the same rate of of cancers, or would they be different?
And that is a very interesting question, in which, agricultural workers are definitely more exposed to the UV radiation. And there has been more public health efforts to really increase skin cancer screening and some protection measures in this type of population, in people who work in agriculture, as well as other people who are outside a lot. For example, people who are firefighters, even pilots. So there's a really push for more education in these groups of people who work more in the outdoor environments. So,
anyone else? Commissioner Gorback.
So would you recommend that people get an annual once over by a dermatologist every year, just to because you can't really see your back that well, and
yes.
So do you recommend that might be a good idea?
Yes, definitely agree. So I think everyone, especially concerning if we're talking about the senior population, definitely should be seeing the dermatologist once a year. Some people who've had skin cancer, we recommend seeing the dermatologist twice a year, depending on how many skin cancers they've had. And some people who have a lot of what we call pre-skin cancer, or things like called actinic keratosis, that can eventually, these lesions can eventually lead into skin cancer. So if they have a lot of these, sometimes I recommend them seeing their dermatologist about every 3 months. So definitely would recommend everyone seeing a dermatologist once a year. If you look at melanomas in males, a lot of times melanomas occur on the back, where you mentioned you can't see. For females, a lot of times it occurs on the legs, and melanoma does occur also very often on the face and the neck area too, but definitely important to be checking those areas that you or your significant other or friend may not be able to see. Right. Thank you.
This is the most questions I think we have ever had, so it's a compliment to you have the interest in this presentation. So, Commissioner Gitt.
So I think you said that most of the melanomas are cut out. Is that the main thing, or are lasers just as effective, or other treatments?
Yeah, so we don't recommend using lasers for any melanomas. So the gold standard, which means like the most effective treatment, would really to be surgically cut it out. And there's certain margins and things that we have to cut out depending on how deep the melanoma goes. And also depending on how deep the melanoma goes into the skin, we may recommend that lymph nodes be sampled to see if the melanoma has traveled to those lymph nodes. And if the melanoma is found to be even kind of more advanced, we may recommend other what we call imaging studies, so we can scan through your body to see if there's any that melanoma going to other parts of your body.
So how do you scan? Is it?
Oh, so we would do things like the PET CT scan or things like that. So that's only if you really have really advanced melanoma. So different, depending on how advanced your melanoma is, there's different protocols in terms of how we treat it and what other things we have to do to examine to see if it's gotten further. And all these kind of protocols have been developed from all the data about melanoma we've accumulated over time. So, but we always recommend melanomas being cut out. There's a lot of recent research and a lot of research into chemotherapy for melanoma, but chemotherapy for melanoma is for metastatic melanoma, which means it's for melanoma that's gone to other parts of your body. So if someone had a melanoma that did not go to other parts of the body, we wouldn't be recommending chemotherapy as a form of treatment. We would recommend cutting it out still. I hope that makes sense.
Anyone else? Thank you, Doctor. That was obviously, by the interest on the board, that was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much.
Very helpful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for spending your time with us today. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gorback, for getting this set up for us. She has got a wonderful series of programs for the year, so don't miss our next it's the first Wednesday of every month. We have a television program and an excellent speaker. So there's no other business. I just want to remind everybody, it just dawned on me, that the 28 days that Commissioner Gitt mentioned to get your nomination, and if you know somebody who does a lot of stuff in the community, a lot of work that really dedicates themselves and to seniors, or seniors that do it, please get your nomination in, because 28 days will be before our next meeting will be over. So we have to get that in now, and it's a great program. I mean, it's really a good program. If you know somebody who does a lot, they deserve to be honored. So thank you, everyone, and thanks very much. Please join us next month. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. Anybody now that has questions? Oh.
You have to adjourn.
Okay. Okay. The meeting then is adjourned if there's no further business. Mm-hmm.